My name is Shami Dixon and I am taking over Tiffany's channel just for this video. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I am a mixed media artist from Colorado and I do have a YouTube channel and I'd love for you to visit. Today for this project we're going to be painting this canvas together. So it's really fun. I hope you enjoy the process, and this collaboration that's happening is called Pass the Brush Art. So it's all about kind of amplifying voices that are a little bit muted, especially on YouTube. I think with the algorithm that lots of artists of colors kind of get lost on this huge platform. So a whole bunch of wonderful artists just got together and wanted to help with that issue. So thank you so much for letting me visit your community, and I hope you enjoy the video. So Hi guys, so let's get started. So you see here that I found this piece of wall art at Hobby Lobby for 99 cents. They do this a lot on clearance, at least in my neck of the woods, where you can get kind of these wood cradle canvases or frames that you can use to make art on. So I just usually coat them with a coat of white gesso and they're all ready to go. You can even get some sandpaper and sand it down a little bit if you're worried about things not sticking to the wooden substrate. But this piece, I really wanted it to be about diversity, because I think that diversity is super important. I think sometimes we don't realize just how much of a richer experience we have if we celebrate and embrace each other's differences. So I really just wanted to make a mixed media piece that kind of embodied that. So that's what I'm doing. That was my inspiration, and I recently have been reading some quotes about diversity that I'd like to share with you. So the first one is, "It's time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength." So that's by the great Maya Angelou, who I love. She has so much wisdom, and it's very true. I was lucky to grow up in a very diverse neighborhood, and I think that I definitely had just a richer experience of humanity just because of that. So I really hope that that will transition over to the art community and hopefully to our nation too. And there's another one too, and this one's really pretty too. It says, "We need to give each other the space to grow, to be ourselves, to exercise our diversity. We need to give each other space so that we can both give and receive such beautiful things as ideas, openness, dignity, joy, healing, and inclusion." And that's by Max Dupree. And I think that that's also just a beautiful quote about this theme about diversity. So now back to the painting. So what you saw me do is I'm just using some of my Deco Arts medium, and I am applying some papers or collaging down some papers onto my surface, and I just do lots and lots of layers of just vintage papers, a lot of vintage papers. But what I'm really after is just kind of neutrals. I think when you're doing mixed media, it's nice to start out with a neutral base, and then you can add color on top, and you don't have to like compete with the color, because sometimes we can struggle with color. And I wanted this to have kind of a neutral background. I wanted my figures to be what was really the focal point. So I'm just going to layer that up, and then I will let it dry. And I use all sorts of different papers. I have like Asian text that my friend gave me, a book, and then I have like tickets, I think, that someone sent me in Happy Meal. I have tissue paper that has text on it. I have also, I think, some tracing paper and some vintage papers that I got too. And now I'm just going to take my palette knife with some white gesso and just add some texture, because I love texture. I think that's super important. And my palette knife, this one I got from Creative Reuse. I usually always use plastic palette knives, but I was able to get one of these metal ones, and I'm loving it. It's so much fun. And I just want to push back that background a little bit and kind of grunge it up. Now I'm just going to take just a number 2 pencil. It's very colorful. I like colorful things. And then this fat woody pencil, and I'm just going to scribble and maybe add a little bit of color too. Then I'm going to add some stamping. I always use archival ink, and I usually use black because I really like contrast in my artwork. So really fun, and it dries really quick, which is nice. So I have definitely my favorite stamps that I like to use. So those are fun. And I'm just going to keep adding in this really pretty peachy flesh tone color in my background. I just love the way that it looks against those papers and in comparison with the black. I think it's really interesting. So we're just gonna kind of scribble into some of that texture, which I love. It's so great to add texture because you can scribble into it and make interesting marks. And I have just this little container. You see the blue container, and it's full of kind of things that I can use to create texture or fun things. And then I'm just going to take my spray bottle and just kind of wet everything down and get rid of some of those marks and kind of grunge it up. Okay, and now I'm just going to take my number 2 pencil, and I did this sketch maybe about a couple weeks ago. I was just playing around with an idea about diversity, and I just thought, you know, all of us are so different, but there's so much of us that is the same because we're all human, right? And I just thought about, I drew these little hearts, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we had hearts for each other? If we could just see just the beauty that is in diversity. So that was kind of inspiration. And I do these little sketches, I think this one I was on the couch. So you'll see the idea evolve. And then I just get out a bunch of pencils. So I use like a China marker, and I went around with that. And then this is just a black, I think it's a Pilot Fuse pen. And then I'm going to get out my India inks, and I am just going to mix together some flesh tones because we all come in a bunch of beautiful colors. So I'm just going to kind of mix those up with different tones and different shades of just neutral colors. And yellow and orange I added too, because we can have some of those undertones and reds. So really fun. And I have never had India ink before, so it was super nice to get it for this project. And I'm just kind of playing around a little bit with just mixing together some colors. And just getting a feel for how these perform. This is just a scratch piece of paper. And I love these pieces of paper. I always incorporate them into my art. And then I'm going to go right into my piece because I try not to overthink things because that will, you know, leave me paralyzed. So I just kind of tell myself, just go for it. So I'm just mixing in different shades of just skin tones. And I'm just using a round brush here. So very, very easy. And it's great because I do add a little bit of water to my brush sometimes, and that can make the India inks a little bit more transparent. I still wanted to see some of my background, but I just liked playing around with the colors. They're so pretty. It's so nice. But when I draw, I really like to have different line weights. So I like to use pens and markers and China markers and graphite. I just think that it's really, really interesting. And, you know, some of them are reactive and some aren't. So it's really fun to play with. And then I decided to make shirt colors because I was just like I was just going to do like flesh color for their entire body. But then I thought, well, let's give them shirts. And we'll make them very colorful. So I picked orange and red and purple and blue. And it was so much fun. And I mixed some colors myself. So it's always fun. And a teal. So really fun, very easy. And these dry super quick, which is awesome. And then I'm just going to go in with just a second layer if I think that the color needs to be a little bit more saturated. So this took me a little while to do. I fast forwarded it for you guys, but it did take me several minutes to add things. And then I'm just going to get my China marker out. And I wasn't going to add hair. I didn't in the sketch that you saw, but then I was like, well, let's add some hair. So I was totally inspired, but I didn't want to add a face. I just wanted to just kind of keep without a face. And then I did not have a black India ink, but my friend had given me some calligraphy ink, so that's what I used here, and that's what I used for her hair. And then I'm just gonna play around and just do simple hairstyles, very, very simple. I definitely am not comfortable drawing people, but I could definitely do this project. It was not that difficult at all, which is fun. And it's great when you give yourself kind of the freedom to play. It's really great. And then here I'm just going to take my Stabilo all pencil, and I'm just going to just create some really beautiful texture and give her a nice little bun. So really fun. And I let that dry thoroughly. With mixed media, you always want to make sure that you let things dry. So this is my favorite part. This is when I kind of doodle. So I grabbed my favorite markers and I added their little hearts, right? Because we should have hearts for all humanity. All of us are super important. I know that, so I wanted to add that in. And then I'm just going to use some India ink and add some writing. I do not like my handwriting, so I try to use it as much as I possibly can. So that way I will fall in love with it. So I'm going to put "Let's Stand Together," right? Because I think that that's what we should do as humans, you know, that we should stand together. So then I'm going to get these stencils out. I was going to do stamping, and then I thought, well, you can just do your handwriting. And then I used these stencils, and I think that I got these at the dollar store. They're little letter stencils, and of course I forget that I need to move the T. But I will remember that, and I will add it as I do the stenciling of the words. So yeah, but I like the way that it looks. I like that it was a little bit imperfect, and I kind of like to fill in and like purposely make my writing not look perfect. So that's what I did with the stand. And then I'm just going to grab a makeup sponge and a little bit of gold paint, and I'm just going to stencil out those words. And I think I do a couple layers, and it was a little bit tricky, so you'll see that I used a baby wipe to kind of wipe up my mess. Well, normally I don't care about stuff like that, but this one I wanted the together to be a little bit crisp, so I did do that. But as you see, it worked pretty well, and I will eventually realize once I start tracing everything that I forgot to put the T to move it down. So I will get a lowercase t, and I will add that in also. So I'm just using the Pilot Multi-Ball pen. It works really well. The ink is nice and juicy, and I just get that from Jet Pens. And then we're just gonna take that off, and I had to use my metallic pen. This I actually got from the dollar store, and I love this pen. And then I'm just gonna outline their little hearts. They're hearts for each other and for humanity. And then I love a scribbly line. So that's what I'm going to do, is just go around the ladies that are standing together. And then I'm going to fill in, like I said, I love to fill in my letters and just make them more interesting. So that's what I'm going to do. And then the last step is to always add splatters, because I love splatters. So I really hope that you enjoyed this collaboration. It's super nice to be with you, and this is such a great collaboration. Make sure that you go to Instagram and put the hashtag in, hashtag #PassTheBrush art, because there's so many amazing artists. And I will see you next time. Please check out my YouTube channel and sign up for my newsletter, and I will see you hopefully soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.